evening, everyone. Welcome to the Big Leap, presented by E27 and powered by CleverTap, the world first retention cloud. We were super excited to welcome all attendees here, joining us offline at Hotel Raffles Kuningan. And of course, to everyone who are joining us online as well, we welcome you, all our audience in Zoom, YouTube, and also Facebook. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Om Swastiastu Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebijakan dan salam sejahtera buat kita semua. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate all of you here being here. The amount of interest definitely humbled us. We were overpacked, and it is certainly our deepest respect and of course our pleasure to welcome everyone here today. As such, we would also like to first and foremost thank you, CleverTap, for powering this event. Today we are joining by a set of experts presenter, panelists, to discuss about retention playbook, Gen Z, and unexpected segments in the new normal. We have here today our esteemed panelist and presenter, Ms. Felicia Kawilarang, the Chief Marketing Officer of Halodoc. Thank you so much for coming in. We also have Mark Antoine Hanger, Southeast Asia Regional Vice President, Sales of CleverTap. Thanks so much, Mark. And of course, Coach Met, Pak Mediko, Chief Marketing Officer of Bluebird. Thank you so much for coming in, Pak. And of course, Mohan Belani, the Chief Executive Officer of E27. Thank you so much, Mohan, for coming in. And last but not least, of course, Timotheus Martin, the Chief Marketing Officer of Pintu. Everyone, please give a round of applause to our esteemed speaker and panelists. All right, so essentially, they will shortly gonna present an insightful session for everyone here, presentations and also panel discussion. But before we start, we just wanted to get to know you a little bit better. So next slide. We wanted to kind of like essentially play a little bit of a game with everyone called myth or facts. So I know that everyone here are marketing people, but we essentially wanted to play a little bit of games of myth and facts. Go back a bit, yeah. To the myth and facts. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, go back a little bit. Sorry, just give us a few moments. The myth of fact, yeah. Yeah, so a little bit of games of called myth or facts as well. So the game of myth or facts, I'm asking everyone here to send a little bit of a, raise your hand, essentially. We're gonna show a little bit of statement, and I know that you guys are experts in your field, so we wanna test a little bit of your skills here. So the first statement, gift deals and loyalty program keep customer coming back. Can I ask for everyone here, who do you think like this is a myth or a fact? Anybody want to raise a hand that this is a myth? Somebody, do you guys think that this is a myth? Anybody want to raise your hand on this one? Oh, so every one of you, do you agree that this is a fact? Okay, thank you so much. So I think let's step in a bit here, coming in. No, it's okay, come in a little bit. Okay, so I think I just wanted to know you a little bit better. Yeah, stand up. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you think is a fact?
Okay, my name is Maxi. I'm Assistant Digital Marketing Manager at Raffles Jakarta. So basically, for this one, I think this is a fact, yeah. Yeah. Because I personally will buy something or we coming back to buy something or some products because of the loyalty program. So because I know that once I become a member, there are some good point. I can earn the point, and there are a lot of offer for a member. So I think this is the facts. Customer coming back to something to buy something, product or service because the loyalty program.
Thank you so much for coming in as well. Anybody want to rebuke this? Anyone thinks that this is actually a myth? No one? Okay, let's get into the real one. So essentially, based on research, we found that this is a myth, essentially. So some of the gift deal loyalty programs keep customer coming back. Oh, maybe, I think you have kind of like, Okay. We can go on to the next one, but essentially we found that good long-term customer don't want to feel manipulated by cheesy deals and loyalty program. And maybe for the next one we can ask for your opinion as well. Okay, next one. Myth or fact? A great product will make customer happy. So anybody wants to raise their hand that thinks that this is a myth or a fact as well? Mbak mungkin? Yeah, I think someone want to volunteer, like if this is a myth. Okay. Well, I think next, in terms of this one, we found that this is a myth. So customer service can make up for a poor product. The truth is, a great product will always make customer happy, as well. Next one. So on to the last one. I think I would like a little bit of love from the audience here. So please tell us a little bit, like, customer leave after a bad experience. Do you think like this is a myth or a fact? Facts. Okay. Can I get some volunteers? Who said facts just now? Mbak, can come in a little bit. Thank you so much. Ini dari mana mbaknya? Ah, okay, my ecosystem. Ya, ya bisa share dikit.
Oke. Halo, nama saya Vilen dari Ekosistem. Kalau masalah customer leave after a bad experience, biasanya fact sih, karena kalau misalnya emang udah bad experience tuh ya udah kecewa gitu, so she or he may leave after having like a bad experience instead of like dealing with it gitu kan ya.
Okay. Tadi dengan Mbak siapa?
Vilen.
Okay, Mbak Fion, thank you so much for coming in as well to the stage. Okay. All right, so we found as well, based on the research as well, that when we address negative customer interactions and remedy the situations, essentially this is also a myth. So, but open for discussion, essentially. Yeah, maybe Mbak can share a little bit as well. Oh, okay. Well, I think after this we can also share a little bit about your insight as well. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Okay. I think can someone give a speaker? It's okay. I think this is a really good interaction because we also wanted to do your opinion as well. Can give a speaker to the audience. Ya, bisa dikenalin dari mana Mbak juga?
Okay. Can you go back to the first slide? Sorry, I'm just curious about the first slide that you're mentioning as myth and also facts.
Yeah, go back to the first slide. Yeah, the next one. Sorry, the first slide, the myth or fact. Yeah, this one.
Okay, for gift deals and loyalty programs, keep customers coming back. I think in here we're talking about retentions, right? How do we maintain our guests and how do we want to come back? I think for gift deals and loyalty, there's a role for it within that activations or that programs, right? So if you're going to say that, can you go back to the next slide after this? Okay, we're talking about gift deals and loyalty programs. You say you cannot max poor customer experience. So my question is it the poor customer experience created that? Or the gift deals and loyalty is part of the, let's say, company brand positioning, company programs or everything? Not all of that is too masking on the poor customer experience. Some good company with excellent customer experience also have a very good loyalty programs. Let's say airlines or something, you know, your your mileage and everything. The better you are in doing that membership, you want people to enroll in that membership so people can experience the benefits in there. And they're happy to be, not because of poor customer experience or like poor airline. And the best airline that we know, they have one of the best loyalty programs, or like hotel that we know, they have the best loyalty programs. So I will tend not to agree on this one. I think it can be fact. Of course, it's depend on what is the loyalty program itself, right? But in general, I think there are some exceptions that you have to put in this, because when you say you can't mask, indeed you cannot mask poor customer experience, but you cannot also say that loyalty program is the cheesy one to manipulate and everything, because loyalty program is a program that sometimes a company push to, let's say, retention of the customer or like gaining database and all of that. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I think, can everyone also give a round of applause, essentially? Yeah, so essentially, I think this is the type of insight and opinion we want, essentially, from this meeting and discussions, and also for those that are coming in online. So without further ado, I think this type of opinion and question, maybe we can also ask it to the panelists as well later. So now that we essentially have learned that maybe some of the myths might not be a myth, and might be some of them are also a fact, so I think we can essentially get to the heart of the conversation as well and start of the program. So before we essentially start some of our content as well, we would like to welcome essentially Chief Executive Officer of E27, Mohan, to share a little bit of opening remarks. Mohan, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone. A big thanks to Selma. It was not easy getting the entire thing together. So I've learned that you all are a more quieter and shy audience, so hopefully we can get everyone engaged. Okay, so firstly, a very warm welcome to today's event. Yesterday I came in and it was raining badly, so I was a bit worried that it would be a cold day, but I'm glad that the weather has been nice. First thing is that I really want to thank our partner CleverTap for doing this with us. So like back at E27, right, we always believed that if the tech ecosystem in Southeast Asia wants to be successful, it needs to be sustainable. And sustainability, it needs to come not just from a lot of venture funding and a lot of artificial growth, but from sustainable marketing programs, from growth through proper user engagement and through user retention. And that's why we're excited to do this, right? Not just in Indonesia, but all around the region. You saw earlier in the video, we're doing this in Singapore, in Vietnam, and multiple other markets. So we're hoping today, right, that this event will kickstart this new age of thinking deeply about user retention, user engagement, and how can we create a sustainable ecosystem. Some fun facts, right? There are actually 460 million internet users in Southeast Asia. And the best part is that in the last 3 years, 100 million users came just in the last 3 years alone. Now, how these users engage on the products and services that all of us create in this region, how they retain, will be all up to us. You know, this room is filled with, I'm very sure, talented, intelligent, and hopefully groundbreaking groups of marketers, product owners, and managers. And how we create the next wave for products in Southeast Asia is really going to be defined by each and every one of you. We are all in a challenging climate now. Layoffs are happening, funding is being cut, right? And it makes the need for user retention, user engagement, and creatively engaging the user base all the more important. Gone are the days where we can just throw money at the problem, spend money on ads, and buy users. Now those things don't matter anymore. How well are we retaining users? How well are we engaging them? These are the things that matter. And marketers play a very, very important role in that process. So by bringing everyone here today, we don't just want to learn from the panelists. So we've created a nice group of panelists. We've got people from HelloDog, Pintu, Bluebird, and CleverTap who are going to share with all of you your insights. I've already prepared some questions that I'll be asking, but I would really encourage all of you to be participative, to raise your hand if you think that there's something that you want to contribute, maybe a question as a follow-up, or maybe even something that you disagree with, so that we can all learn together. The great news is that today's session is all about Gen Z and unexpected segments. And in the last 1 to 2 years alone, thanks to COVID, we've started to see how the newer, younger population engage with products. We've started to see completely new segments of users that typically might not have used products in the past. I remember my own parents. I tried to get them to use grocery services for the longest time, and COVID really helped them get through that. So how do we continue to engage this group? What can we learn from this group of new user segments? And what creative new ideas can we try out with them? Last but not least, we've got a room full of really smart and talented people here. For every one person here, we had to reject 2 others. So the fact that all of you made it here is an achievement on its own. I would encourage all of you to not just listen to the sessions, but learn from each other. It's a nice round table setting, so it's a good opportunity for you to talk to each other, get to know each other better, and share some ideas. Thank you very much for joining us today. Huge thanks again to CleverTap for joining us in our vision of making Southeast Asia a more sustainable tech ecosystem, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohan. And next one from MA, Mark Antoine. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Mohan. All right. Thank you so much for coming. It means a lot. It's definitely a lot of work from a lot of our teams, specifically Bing, who's been putting a lot of effort. So I wanted to say thank you, Bing, for everything you've done and for making it happen. And when I look at this audience, thank you so much. So Bing said you need to talk about CleverTap because we're going to talk about Generation Z and try and have people comment and kind of decipher how we can crack this generation that I think has very interesting traits. And he prepared a deck for me, and I said, I'm not going to do that. So, so if you want to know about CleverTap products, come to us. I'll tell you, but this is not when it's going to happen. What I want to do right now is actually tell you why we're doing this, why we're putting all of those smart people in this room, and why it matters to us. CleverTap basically is a retention platform. I don't know, if this speaks to you. Basically, we help brands engage with their users. If you've ever received a push, an email, an SMS from Bluebird or from Carousel or from Indosat, you've actually been in touch with CleverTap product. And but that's not why we're here. Why we're here is because CleverTap believes in relationship. We believe that we can help brands build relationships with their customers. We can help brands build relationships with their users. Obviously, for all of the brands that I'm pretty sure you're close to, that you represent, it's important to build the best potential, strong relationships so that your customers have the best lifetime value, conversion rates, and whatnot. But ultimately, it's about relationships. It's about a genuine, authentic way of speaking to your users, to your customers. And sometimes I think you're right. Sometimes a poor user experience can ruin things, but so is, it's the same thing in a shop. Sometimes you can go in the shop and maybe the shopping assistant is not in the best mood. It happens. It will happen again, online, offline, again and again. It's about how genuinely you can actually reach out to them and tell them, hey, I'm sorry, it happened. Here is how maybe we can make it up to you. Maybe loyalty, maybe discounts, maybe coupons, which I personally don't believe is the best way. But maybe by understanding what people want and try to actually be insightful and relevant. So so I promised, I took away all of the slides. I have 3, so that's 1. We don't care about this. And that's, the only slide I'm going to talk about. In a relationship with a customer, with a user, starts, prolongs, lives, and maybe will die, maybe will come again. But it has to start, right? How do you actually get a new user? Word of mouth, referral programs, user acquisition, which is probably a big topic here. How do you actually get someone? And I was mentioning this with HelloDoc, which is, it's probably the biggest challenge. Their challenge is not about keeping customers, it's about acquiring customers. But how do you start this? Well, if you're about user acquisition, I have nothing to teach you about. We don't do user acquisition. Usually it's loyalty programs, acquisition, Google, Facebook. It's kind of solved with money. But the thing is that once you've acquired a customer, how do you keep them engaged? How do you make sure that they will come back, that you will talk to them in a way that will make them feel like you've understood what actually they're looking for? If it's going to be my daughter's birthday this coming Friday. I did not forget. There's a side story to this, but maybe later. It's going to be my daughter's birthday. If I've been looking at a lot of unicorns and princesses theme dresses, I would like the brand to actually tell me about this. I don't want them to try and sell me a car or a watch or a phone. I actually want them to actually tell me, hey, maybe it's going to be your daughter's birthday and we want to be part of it. And that's what we're doing. We want to understand user behavior. We want to understand what the user wants to do in order to actually engage with them in a smart way. We want to make sure that you receive less messages, but better messages. And that's basically why we're here and how we achieve it. So if you want to know more, you see no more slides. The last one is actually just a slide to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to all of our customers in Indonesia who are the reasons why we're here today. And if you want to know how they're actually doing it, and if you believe that they're doing good things, come and talk to us and we'll tell you more. I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you so,
Thanks so
much. Give a round of applause to Ame. All right, and then next is also one of our expert panelists as well, Coach Matt. The floor is yours for your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So again, thank you for E27 and CleverTap to make this happen. And I do hope that we all learn today from each other and also bring positive energy to this room. So I'm here is actually to share a bit about myself and about my company, my current company. I actually spent my education with engineering. Yeah, I hold 2 double degrees in engineering, but even when I have my initial work job with engineering, it doesn't make me feel fulfilled. Because somehow as a person I have a balanced right and left brain. So even though the left brain is actually very fulfilled, but the right brain is not. So I then actually found my way to get marketing that inspired me a lot and has become my passion for over 25 years. So I used to be raised in FMCG companies. I spent 13 years with multinational company FMCG, different categories, which I think learning by doing. I didn't have any background in marketing, but it's actually fulfilled me because I have been always curious, about my consumers. It's good that we talk about marketing is actually building relationship with between brand and the consumers, because that's really fulfilling with me. There is a mix between science and art in marketing, which I love. Because it's not only about understanding your customers, how to get a lot of insights, understand them, and then make the right communication, campaign, product, service, and whatnot to build your relationship with your customers. And then I moved from probably a bit traditional companies to a more digital companies. Started with Excel, that make me exposed to digital marketing and also digital stuff. And then I helped Grab to become the first decathlon in Southeast Asia. Then there is another thing that I also have been passionate about for the past actually 11, 12 years is actually coaching. So I took hiatus for 2.5 years, left Grab, and then become professional coach. Before last year, I joined Bluebird. Yeah. Maybe next slide. Bluebird is also interesting. Why? Because it's not like probably most of you guys here working with startup companies, which is exciting. It was for me, but then it's then I decided it's no longer excited, because for me it's maybe because of my age, and because also I find other stuff that become my passion. But Bluebird has been go through a lot of transformation, a lot of disruptions. We did target, probably baby boomers in the at the beginning, and then Gen X, millennials, and now Gen Z. Yeah, and in the past 6 years, we had two big disruptions. First is the ride-hailing company came into Indonesia 6 years ago, disrupt the whole category, and then almost 3 years ago is a pandemic, really hit us, the mobility category. And it reinforced us to transform as a conventional company into a more digitalized, and also, really we need to embrace the change, embrace the disruption, if we want to survive and thrive even, yeah. And the past 2 years, what I'm quite proud is that because I joined Bluebird during the pandemic, yeah, and then transforming the team, and also contributing to the journey of transformation for Bluebird is something. Yeah. We managed to turn around the situation. Last year was a positive result for us. After negative profit in 2020, we managed to turn around last year. And then this year, we even actually grow 500% in terms of profit compared to last year. So it's we believe that we are pretty confident next year with the whole spirit, the strategy that we believe it's right for us. We will embrace to 2023. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Medical Coach Met, essentially. So I think everyone here, of course, have known Bluebird. So in case, you guys wanted to connect with Coach Met as well, I think you'll be able to be reached on LinkedIn as well, right, Pa? As well. So without further ado, I think now is essentially the heart of the discussion and also the event for today. We would like to welcome essentially Mbak Felicia Kawilarang to the stage to come in as the one of the first panelists. Mbak Felicia, please come in. And then next, of course, Mark Antoine Hanger from CleverTap. Please also come into the stage. Next, yeah, please give a round of applause to Mark as well. And then next, also, Coach Matt, please come into the stage. Give a round of applause to Coach Matt. And then Mohan, please come into the stage as well. Last but not least, of course, Timotheus, please come into the stage as well.
Can we get the mics? Okay. Let me see. Pull off my notes. Okay. Today's session is on the retention playbook, right? How the Gen Z and unexpected segments in the new normal. So especially since COVID-19 has accelerated all the digital adoption across industries and pushing new user behaviors online. So how is it that businesses are capitalizing on their previously acquired user base as we transit back into the offline world? So the key here is previously acquired, right? Because you acquire all these users in the last year or so. Now we want to retain them, you want to re-engage them and make sure that they don't leave. So we have a nice group of panelists that we put together today. Maybe starting from Felicia, if you could give an introduction about yourself, a bit about your background, and let the audience get to know you a bit better.
Sure. Hi, I'm Felicia. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Halodoc. We are the #1 healthcare telemedicine brand in Indonesia. I've been working at Halodoc for 6 years now, since its inception, basically. And before that, I was in digital marketing agency, but actually I majored in finance. So I did also like Coach Med, a switch in major and interest. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thanks, Felicia. Mark?
Hi, my name is complicated. I'm sorry. My name is Marc Antoine. Not everybody studied in Brittany like you, but my name is Marc Antoine. Nobody calls me Marc Antoine here. People call me MA, and I'm in charge of business in Southeast Asia. I'm based out of Singapore.
Is it okay if I call you Mark? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. And then medical? You've done your part already, but just a quick summary. That would be nice.
So, okay, yeah, so I'm medico. People call me Coach Matt. Yeah, I actually like, marketing because it's science and art dingy, and then it's really fulfilling for me. And I do like, spending time with my customers. In the past, I used to handle feminine care products. I was the first probably male senior brand manager handling that female products, but it's ultimate challenge for me because I never used the product.
Could you maybe just share what the products were, just out of
It's
curiosity?
sanitary napkins and
wow.
panty liners, tampon.
'Cause, yeah, if it was lipsticks, I could say maybe you can try, but clearly you
That's
can't,
true.
in this
Yeah.
case.
That's the challenge for marketer.
Wow,
Ultimate
okay.
challenge.
So if you could do that, I'm sure a lot of people can
Sure.
do crazy things with marketing too. Wow, okay. So fun fact that we learned about Medico today. And Timo?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Timotheus, but you can call me Timo for short. I lead the marketing and growth of Pintu. We are a new and one of the youngest crypto exchange in Indonesia. So I've been with Pintu for just over a year. Prior to that, I was at GoPay for 3 years, helping the brand grow from almost scratch to where it is today. And just like Felicia and Pamet, I also didn't have any marketing background. I studied chemical engineering and food technology before I teach myself about marketing and finally get an official degree so I can be a legitimate marketer.
Nice. So I'm curious, okay, just help me out here. How many of you actually have an official marketing background, whether it's a degree, diploma, or anything? Raise your hand.
No
How
one
many of you?
here.
How many of you? I see 1, 2, 3. Okay, how many of you have no marketing background in terms of degree or diploma whatsoever? Then the rest of you, what do you all have? I'm very curious. So interesting, we can see marketing people don't seem to have the foundational level marketing background. So that's something new that I learned. So let's start with the last 2 years, okay? We'll go on a bit of a backward view first. Last couple of years definitely was good for all of your businesses, I assume. A bit more challenges, but on the marketing side, right? Maybe can you all start by sharing with me some significant achievements that you all had from a marketing standpoint, right? What is it that was done really, really well? What were some new learnings that you had with respective to your roles in marketing? So let's start with that, and then maybe after that we can think about what we are looking into for next year. So maybe Felicia, you can go first.
Okay. So obviously, as you all know, the last 2 years has been the COVID pandemic, and I work in healthcare. So for us, we've been very blessed with a lot of growth very quickly since basically March 2020. But with that also comes a lot of challenges in terms of making sure our product works, because suddenly there was such a spike in demand when COVID restrictions happened, right? And we worked also with the government, and the government suddenly said telemedicine is now legal. Well, it was never illegal, but now it's like we want to push telemedicine. Hospitals are something that you should avoid unless you are a very serious COVID patient. So suddenly there was a spike in telemedicine, and we got a lot of free marketing technically, right? And sponsored by the government itself. So we were very lucky there, but at the same time, because of the sudden increase in demand, we also had to work very closely with our product team to make sure that we can meet that demand and meet our customer needs. And what our customer needs were during the pandemic was one, making sure that there was doctors available 24/7, because 3 years ago, COVID was very scary. Right? Now it's not as scary anymore. I think most people here in the room have COVID before, except Timo. But
Stay away.
in the first 3 years, and I mean, 3 years ago, COVID was so scary. Nobody knew what it was. So many people had so many questions. We had to make sure our doctors were educated about COVID-19, what the first variant was about, what the symptoms were, what to watch out for. So education was super important for us, not only for our customers, but also for our doctors, because this was also something new for doctors. So that was the first step, right? And then the second step, making sure also we had to talk to our doctors and say, is there any medicine for this, right? And at first there was no medicine. So what do we give to our patients? What do we give for people who said, they had COVID? So we really had to brainstorm. We had to talk with the government. We had to talk to WHO, because this was a world pandemic. It wasn't only happening in Indonesia. So we had to talk to basically a lot of the world governments and healthcare organizations to make sure that we were giving the right treatments, because basically telemedicine became the number one solution for a lot of patients here in Indonesia. In fact, 12% of COVID-19 patients in Indonesia was helped by Halodoc. So that's a lot considering our population.
But taking a step back to the marketing side, right? So you had to uniquely not just market now to the users who want using your website, but also
Yeah.
the doctors, right? Because they needed to be educated on some level on how to use the platform or why the
Yes.
platform was even valuable in the first place.
Yes.
And then you mentioned earlier you had some challenges working with the product team, or you had to work in new ways with the product team. Could you share a bit more about that?
Okay, so because COVID-19 was such an emergency, we rolled out products within like 1 week. That was a huge challenge for us, right? Because that means, first, we don't know what COVID-19 was. We don't know what the patients needed. So it was basically like war rooms, like breakout war rooms every day, 24/7 nonstop. And our product teams that weren't really used to working that way. And usually there's a product cycle. You launch something every 1 month, you fix things, and there's like a proper cycle. And this was like, we need to launch something within 1 week. So obviously it was a new kind of system, and actually there was no system. It was more like, okay, let's just handle this and then kind of put out and learn as we go.
Like throw
to
away
be
the whole
honest.
marketing plan on some level, right? And just react to things
Correct.
coming in.
And then
Yeah, Mang, on your end, did you see something similar? How was the last 2 years really amazing from a marketing standpoint?
So the thing is that we have a position where we have been close to different industries. So we've seen industries, airlines, not so fun, and then we've seen like e-commerce and others picking up like crazy. One of the things that I feel was pretty remarkable was that some behaviors were forced. One thing I'm thinking of is like the cost of acquisition. At some point, and I think like mid 2020, Google and Facebook cost was crazy. And I think it was interesting because like all of the growth team were like, I think there's no easy way to acquire users. We're going to need to do something that doesn't rely on those channels. And I think that this created like very positive and sustainable behavior to actually acquire users and then say, if that's going to be the cost, we're going to need to take care of them longer and probably retain them in a better way.
Any in particular that you remember that you thought was done really, really well? Whether it's a sector or company or anything?
Yeah, like actually putting in place referral platforms. People were like, referral works, but it takes time to build. Now actually we need to make it work because the price of acquiring the same amount of users through those channels makes little sense.
Right. Because in the past you could just pay your way towards acquiring users. Now it didn't make sense, and referring made so much more sense.
Exactly.
That was way cheaper. Medico, what did you see from a highlight standpoint in the last couple of years from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah, for Bluebird, because we just got disrupted once, big time, right? So we just embarked in a transformation journey, but then pandemic came. So it's a double hit for us, and I joined the company during the pandemic. Yeah, so it's double hit for us because we were in transformation journey, and maybe the category that impacted the most because of pandemic is mobility, transportation, because people stay at home. Then it's really hit us, and I joined in the midst of pandemic. So. Actually, building for me, because I do believe balance between, again, right brain, left brain. Now it's a brain and heart. Yeah, because first, as a new joiner in the company, I need to be able to convince my team, because they were in the pandemic, right? And then I also want them to also embark in the transformation journey. It's not easy. It's double hit too, and I'm new. I was new. Yeah, so the challenge is actually, providing inspiration to them that this is, yes, this is admitting that this is hard time, but also admitting that there will be some light at the end of the tunnel for them. And then, invite them to embark to the journey with me. So that's actually the biggest challenge. And from the company perspective, we also understand that with the pandemic, the category is actually being reset. Before, probably safety, convenience is actually the currency for our category. But because of the pandemic, there is a new currency, hygiene. So we need to be able to understand that change of consumer needs, and then adopt and adapt our ways to cope with it, because the standard is now changed. So we need to be able to be the first adopting that, even though probably people in the past think that, we are behind in terms of technology, but we play catch up. And then as a leader, I also think where all this year the strength of Bluebird, because we need to find that core of the strength. That's something that we need to play and probably double down, yeah, whilst trying to build up our, expertise in the hygiene. And then we build that. That's the reason why I think that while we are playing catch up with our apps, the category is being reset. We build up our new, features like hygiene. With all of that, with the belief from the team, is actually turn around into a great momentum for us to turn around the whole business.
Interesting.
And then I think this year we just capitalized from whatever we said earlier last year, because 2022 something that we need really to capitalize and then do things right, small wins, and then double it down, and then both actually from the financial perspective and also brand perspective. We just got the new brand tracking. We are doing great,
Yeah. So you actually mentioned a lot of things that is going to segue into my second question, which is how to lead during uncertain times. And I'm sure all of you going into 2023, it's looking very uncertain. So how can marketing play a stronger, more leadership role, right? But Timo, back to the first question, right? In terms of what was the most significant achievement from a marketing standpoint for you in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think the most significant one is the way that we also launched Pintu at the time. So Pintu launched in 2020. That was the start of the pandemic. That was also the height of people being fearful to put their money elsewhere apart from their bank. So there's a lot of fear about putting money into high-risk assets like crypto. But there were some pockets of users that are less fearful. And these are the ones that are more adventurous, more explorers. And these happen to be the Gen Z, right? And at the time, they saw an opportunity that they are staying at home. They still receiving salaries, but don't know where to put. But they need to put into assets that are a few things, characteristics that the Gen Z likes. Assets that are global, assets that are accessible 24/7, can easily, flexible enough to withdraw at any time if they want, and volatile enough to give them this adrenaline pump, because Gen Z always want an adrenaline pump. So to your questions, I think the last 2 years I learned a lot about Gen Z because of how the situations evolve from pre-pandemic to pandemic, right? And so in 2020, we sort of like as marketers, we learned how to fit, how to identify the user's problem first. The pocket of users is Gen Z. They need assets that are global, accessible, and flexible. But the problem was at the time, 2020, there was not enough, I think, just only little knowledge about what crypto is, what blockchain is, and also the platforms that were available at that time were pretty intimidating for everyday Joes like me or like all of us here, right?
Intimidating from like a user experience standpoint?
Correct, yeah. So I don't know if you remember back in 2019, 2020, if you go to any investment app, as a matter of fact, doesn't have to be crypto, you're probably served with charts and numbers, right? And you don't know what to do. So back then, there were only 2 million crypto investors in 2020. And those 2 million are mostly pro traders or the ones that are just FOMOing in. They don't understand what that is and they're just like following their friends.
Would that be the unexpected segments in the new normal that in a
yeah,
way
no, that would be the Gen Z that was just like
Still
trying
Gen Z,
to,
okay.
yeah, trying to get involved, but then they don't really understand. So that's where we see the problems, and we try to marry the products and the marketing, right? So we see that okay, there's a flock of users wanted to get in, but they couldn't because they don't understand how, and so we sort of like have that product market fit right away. Okay, Pintu is built for those who just getting started at investing. Those just getting to know crypto, and inside the app you can learn about crypto and blockchain. You don't have to even invest, you just open and learn it, and once you're sure, once you know the risk, then you can invest. And so I think that was in itself, fast forward to today, a big success because we're again one of the youngest and newest. We got over 6 million app downloads, and I think we are contributing quite good in growing that 2 million crypto investors from 2 million in 2020. Now it becomes 16 million in 2022.
So interesting. Your access or your achievement from a marketing standpoint was really an education experience and not just purely a user acquisition or retention experience
I
in
think
some sense.
fitting that user problem, solve it, and then marry it with the product features.
Nice.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk about the next 2023 uncertain times. I think I just got a pop up saying Meta is going to lay off like 11,000 people or 13% of their workforce. So clearly, a lot of very challenging times coming up. Where does marketing play a role, right, in an uncertain time? How can the marketing role or the marketing function, right, play a more leadership-centric position in terms of driving an organization? Whether is it to invest in more retention efforts or to get an organization to think more creatively in ways they engage and or retain their user base. I'll leave this open to the panelists. See who would like to take this first. We don't always want to give to the lady, right? It's not fair. Not always in cases do the ladies go first.
I think that definitely we are ahead of things that we don't really understand, but probably it's going to be up and down and without much notice. I think that marketing, and maybe this is in relationship to Gen Z, I think marketing has the duty to actually focus on what they should, which is the market, the users. And I think that marketing has this duty to actually, bring back the message, not the company message being thrown to the users, but actually making sure that the voice of the customers, the voice of the users, of their traits, of what they like, of, if they like adrenaline, that's what we should think about and put in our product. And that's a duty that I think is extremely important, because if you keep doing the same things, I don't think it's going to work so much.
Okay, can I press that further, Mark? Like how as a okay, in an uncertain period, right? How does the marketing leadership actually get the attention of the larger organization, right, to make that a priority, to push that agenda across? Because it requires change. right? And it requires effort, right, to some sense. So how will that happen?
I think it's definitely pure change. It's definitely thinking about not only, not only saying cost and profit, but actually saying how are we going to evolve in this market to actually think about what the economy is going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And when I say the economy is actually also like how are the customers and the population, where are they going to be and what are they going to need? I think there's going to be opportunity. Like if you look at Airbnb, if you look at, there were very successful companies that actually got created during bearish periods, and I would bet anything I have that it's going to happen again. You need to be, focusing on your users, your customers, to make sure that, you listen to the market.
Airbnb is definitely a great example of a company that started in a very, very uncertain time, right? Felicia, I think you were going to say something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think for HelloDoc, specifically for us for 2023, even before 2023, like slowing down with the pandemic, we really have to focus on finding out who our customers are and what is their behavior. I think with our organization, marketing is really leading that, because with the user knowledge is how you build the products that users need. And user knowledge, for us at least, comes from the marketing team. So we have done a lot of research, a lot of surveys, a lot of focus group to make sure that we know moving forward in terms of health, what are they interested in and what is the fatigue there? Because I think actually with health, there's a lot of fatigue, because in the past few years, everybody's been talking about making sure to take care of your health, etc. So we want to make sure, we balance that as well between, fear tactics, people being scared of the pandemic, but also focusing more on wellness and well-being and taking care of mental health. So that's actually for HelloDoc something that we're focusing on.
So in some sense, building off the point that Mark mentioned, right, where you are essentially evolving the message to the user base in a new way that is relevant to them in a completely new context, right?
Correct.
Is that something that you all have tried a bit so far, or is it something completely new that you all are going to experiment with?
We have started experimenting with this messaging, yes. But definitely something we want to push forward more for 2023.
I think, Medico, you probably went through the most challenging period, right? Because you mentioned the mobility space was impacted the most.
Yeah.
So what does it take, right, for a marketing leader to lead in an uncertain time, and especially going into next year where time is going to be very uncertain for a lot of companies? Not
Yeah.
just those in certain sectors affected by
Yes.
the recession.
Yeah, it was impacted hard for us, yeah, especially 2020 and half of 2021. So first we need to understand ourselves first, because which type of leader we are. Because are we a defensive type of leader, offensive type of leader? That means are we too positive or we are too pessimistic? Because I do believe that we need to balance that, because especially for Bluebird, first we need to ensure that we need to manage our costs, because revenue got hit. Yeah, to be able to still, especially for Bluebird, because we put human is important. Our target is more our priority to serve our big family, the drivers and also employees are more important than just hitting revenue target, right? So that's important. But as a marketer, it's also important for us not to lose our relationship with customers, especially in the difficult period, because they still need something from us, a solution from us. So creatively, we also launched some new services, like instead of people mobilizing, it's actually goods mobilizing. So we launched Bluebird Kirim during that pandemic. We also know that during some outbreak, right, even COVID-19 patient, they had very hard mobility, and then even their family sometimes hesitate to bring them to a hospital. So we launched a special golden birth special care to be able to help this group of people mobilize, for example. So it's and then we also back to our core foundation. That's why in terms of probably in the past months or so, you see the difference in terms of the way Bluebird communicate, the way we also engage our target audience with a lot of human story, because that's our strength. And we do believe that's what differentiates us versus the ride-hailing players. Yeah, and then moving forward, we will continue and double down the small success, that we see happen in 2022. Of course, next year will be challenging, but with the 2 years, consecutive years actually work for us, we also need to put more investment, actually dare to do a lot of new stuffs and whatnot to to serve our
So
customers.
interesting. It's a bit of like what you mentioned is like cultivating the relationship with your customers.
Yeah.
Constantly talking to them and engaging them, but also looking at secondary opportunities that you can support them in, right?
Correct.
Where if your core service can't support them, for example, the mobility, then the delivery for the goods,
The
instead,
logistic company.
and the logistics part will come in handy. Timo,
Yeah,
going into 2023.
yeah. I think I'm just gonna be blatantly honest with you guys here. Looking at the economic situations and all that, I think marketers have a role to, number one, change the mindset of your boss, meaning that there's no longer instant result. It has to, the marketing has to deliver a message rather than just going viral for the sake of going viral. That's number one. And number two, we also have to change our mindset. So there is no one shoes fits all kind of approach. So you can't just throw in money to Google ads or Facebook ads or out-of-home advertisement and hope that things will work out and somebody will convert along the funnel, right? So you can just shove the customers down the funnel because it's different. The way the customers think are different, the way your boss thinks are different, the way your boss's boss, your investors also expecting different things. So number one is it's a mind shift, I think, right? And I think looking back, right, in investment specific now in crypto, last year during the bull run, I didn't really do much marketing actually. I was just like posting any meme like dog pictures and it just starts selling, right? So there's not much technical skill sets of marketing now. You can't do that anymore because people are more cautious about how they spend their money, right? And the same thing goes with business. I think the CEO, the founder, and even the investors are more cautious about how marketing put their money in. So I think echoing Mark's point earlier and Felicia as well, it's about understanding your customers, meaning that you gotta spread all the data points available, as many data points as available as possible in your app to understand what your customers behave, basically, right? How they behave. So you could practically send the right message to the right audience at the right time, and that you don't have this one shoes fits all approach that, oh, if I want to do promotions, then promotion for everyone, but actually just promotion for those who need it. For those who don't need, then maybe you don't really actually need to spend any money there, right? And lastly, I think another blatantly honest kind of thoughts here is that stop spending on ads.
Stop spending on ads, okay.
Yeah, I think for now, stop spending on it because one, probably your competitors doesn't have the money anyway. Number two, I think this is a great time to actually build products that actually fit and could solve the user's problem. And so I think the right marketing to do in this climate is marketing that communicate a message that solve users' problem rather than, hey, here's a funny cat, funny dog, hey, I've got a celebrity endorsing my brand. I'm not saying that's not going to work, but I think there will be better times that that kind of approach of pure branding story will work more effectively, more efficiently when the time is right. Yeah.
I think those are really good points. Mark, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you say, but I also want to be a bit French and disagree. I mean, I agree in the way that maybe in the next in the coming year we should probably look at bottle of the funnel ROI a bit less, because that's probably where it's a bit like crypto. You should probably de-zoom a bit and take it easy. But at the same time, I think that, with more and more influencers, I think that it's also kind of addressing the Generation Z by saying, we're not going to sell like, hey, you should buy this. We're going to say by saying, these cool people are actually, this is how they use it, and maybe this is a different way for you to look at it. So I don't think we should throw everything at, influencers. Maybe today there's too much. They'll probably come back in a way that, it's through a different form that I believe we should, pay attention.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Mark. I think not completely throwing it away, but maybe look at it differently. So let's say influencer, rather than going directly to macro, that sort of like generic influencers that you hope that, okay, since this is a big name, could, probably relevant to your product, but maybe going more into the micro influencers that really relate to your products and your audience. I think that would convert more rather than just big influencers that cost more. So it's no longer about number of impressions, but also number of conversions, right? Yeah.
I think if I can add a bit, it also really depends where your brand is, to be honest. Like for Halodoc, because we are, I don't want to brag, but we are number one by far. We don't have to spend so much, like for example, on a celebrity, and we can save our money, for example, and focus more on micro influencers or funneling just on the app and not too much branding. But if you are a small brand, you do need to spend on branding. I think you cannot forget that the number one step all marketers need to be remember, and basics is awareness is always number one, right? Without awareness, there's no bottom of the funnel, right? Top of the funnel is always really important. So I think even in difficult times is something marketers need to go back to, just going back to the basics and not forgetting it. So.
Yeah, I think, again, understand your consumers and also where your brand life cycle is. And then understanding the customer journey is different from segment to segment. And more, our consumers become more fragmented. You cannot, just do one size fits all. Yeah, so you better really understanding, which type of segments are important and where they are, at the stage of customer journey, the relationship between your brand and this type of consumers, and then just focus on that. So it's, you just need to stay cautious, which is marketing must, but, don't be discouraged with the situation, because I think the energy of the organization is actually coming from marketing. You still need to fire up.
I think that's a good point. Marketing is like the heartbeat of the organization on some level, where they keep things pumping and exciting for the rest of the organization. I think those were all very interesting points shared. Before I go back to my question list, I want to ask the audience, anybody got any burning question that you want to ask? Any follow-up question with respect to what has already asked so far? Come. In Singapore, we have a term called sabo, which is to, like, don't sabo me, as in don't make me look bad on stage for opening the floor up to the question. Any questions that you want to ask the panelists at this time? A quick one. Just raise your hand, shout it out. And no, we don't have free gifts to give out, sorry. No? Oh, damn. Free crypto from from Timo. Okay, so if we move forward, right, in terms of for all of them over here, right, they're going to go back to the office tomorrow or next week or work from home. Okay, what are the initial first few things, right, that you think they should really start thinking about? Whether is it having a conversation with their team on how to tackle next year, whether is it having a conversation like what Timo pointed out, right, with their boss, their founder, or whatever, with respect to the change of mindset. What should be the key, or whether is it even planning out a budget, right? What should be the key priorities and key things that everyone in the room should think about as a top of mind the moment they go back to their offices from a marketing standpoint? Mark, you want to go first?
I would say, one thing I've seen that is always healthy for any marketing organization or any company is, and it's a bit painful, you don't want to do it, but you need to, is get in touch with, take 20 customers and call them. randomly, and not you, but your boss. Like let's take the pulse. How's it going? What can we do better? What do you love about the brand? You've been with us for X amount of time. What do you like? And it's it always seems great to do, but to be honest, you're tomorrow back in front of your computer, you're having like a ton of emails and to-do lists and stuff to do. You're probably going to forget about it. But and I was discussing this yesterday with a friend, and he was like, it is eye-opening of how we thought we were the best at this. Actually, they don't care about this. What they like is this feature, this button that we thought was not that cool, and it's stupid. But actually, if you figure it out, then this is how you wanna. This is the button that you want to put everywhere on your website, on your app.
Nice, I like that. It's like going back to basics, right? Go back to your core customers, talk to them, ask the questions all over again, what they like, what they don't like, and see what new things or new insights you can learn. I think that's a really, really good point. Anyone else?
So for me personally, we've been very busy looking at our user insights and going back just on our raw data and looking at our conversion funnels, looking at why, for example, if our top funnel, has been falling because COVID is no longer super relevant, and a lot of our top funnel in the past few years have come from COVID. And so we have to look at, okay, for those patients that came in for COVID and hasn't come back yet, how do we make them come back, right? How do we retain them? So retention has been really important. So looking at the customers that you can make sure that they retain, come back, repeat more often, and that way you also don't have to spend as much dollars, right? So that's something for us, I think all of us to think about.
Yeah, I would echo Mark's point earlier. I think it's very important in this climate to understand our customers better. Two ways to do that. One is the user surveys like you mentioned. And that's usually the best way to do it because you get to understand it, sort of like from a first-person perspective, talking to them. Second way to do it is just by looking at your app or platform data, see how people behave on each of the page, for example. Say on the home screen, how many seconds, how many minutes they spend, which page they're looking at, which page actually they drop off of, basically, right? And then from there, that kind of gives us the feedback, or perhaps you could create groups of users that like page A versus page B, and that sort of like create a different types of product for different types of segments, and that way we could communicate again the right message to the right audience at the right time, right? And lastly, I think some of these highly personalized, highly targeted messages could actually be automated. So I would I think suggest to explore for some automation tools if possible, where you set a logic, say for example, if a customer goes to product A, product B, but then fall off, you can retarget them with similar products and explain why they should convert. So that would really help actually convert the users better and save your marketing spend, basically.
Actually, for next year, right, I'm thinking in order for y'all to grow back the top line, re-engage users, y'all really need to figure out how best to engage the Gen Z user base and also the unexpected new segments. Yeah. So how are y'all thinking about those problems, right? Like maybe for Pintu's case, Gen Zs are really very active on your platforms. Then maybe are you starting to target the non-Gen Zs, maybe the older groups or the groups that have nothing to do with crypto? For Bluebird's case, is Gen Z a consideration at all? Mark's case, do you all even across all the different segments that you look at, how does that look differently? And obviously for Felicia's case, is it mainly Gen Z or do you all think it's a different segment? So I think as a final closing wrap-up question, how are you all looking to target and unlock the Gen Z market and also unexpected segments that are relevant to your organizations?
Few characteristics about Gen Z that I learned from Pintu. One, they are very highly demanding. They want messages to be personalized, otherwise they would turn off that notification, unsubscribe and all that. And number two, they like to be over-communicated by the brand, but as long as it's relevant, they want to be keep up to date, giving insights on what's the latest projects that are interesting that they could invest in, for example, what's the market look like. But the number one characteristic is the very personalized and targeted messages. So it's like how these Gen Zs are, scrolling to infinity on TikTok, Instagram, on GoFood, or even on Tinder, right? That's not because the platform is just cool for because of the brand is cool, but because the recommendation is relevant to what they like, basically, right? And I think on every platform, including crypto, this is a key for us going forward to keep them retained in our funnel and to get them actually interested to keep checking on our app, because they would find new things that are relevant to their interest rather than us as the company shoving message one-way street.
So clearly it's massively over communication and hyper personalization.
Hyper personalized, yeah.
Medico?
Yeah, for us, Gen Z in Indonesia is more than 75 million, right? And it's actually not homogeneous, especially for our category and probably for other category that, the relationship between the brand and the target audience may vary. Don't too simplistic. Yeah. So even for us Gen Z, in terms of channel, probably can be quite homogeneous. Actually, the relationship, the role of our brand serve in their life may be different. So we need to understand, each type of Gen Z may have a different relationship with our category and with our brand. And especially for our category, it's different because transportation is about lifestyle. Transportation is about purpose. Yeah, because then we need to understand where they are coming from, where they live, the culture. Yeah, the way they see this transportation or whatever category you are, actually help them in making their life better, easier. So that's basic to the core, understanding your target audience. Don't get too simplistic because they are all Gen Z. There are 75 millions of Gen Z in Indonesia.
So within Gen Zs, there are probably a lot of subcategories to really think about. Okay. Mark, across the sectors.
I would say that different brands have different targets, and that timing is not the same. I mean, I would love to say, hey, we've cracked Gen Z. Now 2023, we're gonna do Gen Y, and it's gonna work. I think you can't decide that this is gonna work, so you do it and it works. If it were like this, it would be more or less fun. I don't know. Strange example. I've stopped. It's been like a month or so. I've stopped using Instagram. I don't know if it's because I'm of my generation but I was surprised because yesterday my mom said, "Hey, I've added you on Instagram and you've never." And I was like, "What? You're on Instagram?" And I was like, time, Instagram came to her at some point. She's a boomer, but I was like, okay, we should think about times and time frames of when things happen. Why does it happen? I don't know why she installed it. I'm gonna survey her right away, saying why, what triggered you.
After this.
I think timelines and I think that's growth marketing should be try different things, and when things are gonna pick up, when you have the good signals, maybe that's when you want to invest a bit more on a specific segment.
And to wrap up, the final comment from Felicia, as we are completely out of time.
Okay, so for me, actually, I think Gen Z, from what I see, loves promoting brands they love. They grew up with social media, and they actually will organically market your products if they truly love them. So I think if you can crack Gen Z, it's finding out something that they love and want to promote for themselves, right? Like for Halodoc, when we crack Gen Z, we haven't truly cracked Gen Z, but the product that really gets to Gen Z is mental health. Because they're so woke, quote unquote. They really care about their mental health. They really want to push that. It's kind of cool right now, if you see on Halodoc's Twitter, to talk about one's mental health, and we see that on our Gen Z followers, and they really promote the psychologists and psychiatrists in Halodoc amongst their friends. So I think you can crack that, and that's already a step forward.
You're speaking a lingo that they get, right? And they really it connects with them. So I think that's a good takeaway, final takeaway for everyone. Please join me in thanking the panelists for their insightful points today, and thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you so much, Mohan, Felicia, MA, and also Timotheus. Let's stay for a bit. We have a little of a token of appreciation. Bing, please go up to the stage. And now, before everyone leaves, we would like to ask everyone to stand up and take picture with us, just to basically, like the Gen Z, take a selfie and then post it on socials. All right, can I ask everyone to stand up and let's take picture together? Thank you very much. All right, everyone, please go in front of the stage. We would like to take picture with everyone. All right, everyone, let's take picture in front of the stage as well. Yeah. Boleh minta tolong ke depan? Sorry. Ya, ya, maaf ya Mbak, Mas, sorry. Apa? Ke depan bentar. Ya, Mbak, bisa ke depan bentar buat ngambil foto aja. Ya. Nanti kita share juga. Yeah, please, everyone, go up to the stage as well. For those who are very, very tall, please go up to the stage. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, somebody can also sit in the front. Yeah, maybe the ladies as well. Yeah, 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 yes. Perfect. Yeah. Mau ambil foto juga? Mbaknya mau ngambil foto? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna take twice because I know everyone's is here as well, and so please take a look to this camera as well. 1, 2. Yeah, Devina. Also, yeah, dari yang paling kiri dong. Okay, we're gonna take twice. Okay, everyone, smile. 1, 2. Okay, and then to the right side as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, 1, 2. All right, thank you. Oh, yeah, one more. Okay. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Please enjoy the dinner outside. Makasih, makasih. Oh, nggak usah, Pak.